Red Zone Sports Outback. Wham, bam, thank you, Uncle Sam.
Welcome to this week's edition of Upping the Ante in association with Red Zone Bet. I'm Richard Forristal and I'm joined by our regular Cheltenham expert, Gavin Lynch. Gavin, 3 weeks since our last confession.
Yes.
There's been many sins over the Christmas period.
Well, I'd say I committed most of them.
We've seen Bouvardere, the champion hurdle favourite, beaten. We've seen Might Bite and Native River beaten again. We've seen Santini beaten. There's been an awful lot of strange results over the past few weeks.
There has, and in terms of Cheltenham, there's been very few answers to a lot of questions. Usually over Christmas, you come out early, first week of January, having lots of bets for Cheltenham, but I haven't had a bet since Christmas, to be honest with you, for Cheltenham, because, as I said to you, there's more questions now than answers.
Yeah, it's muddied the water more than anything, hasn't it? I suppose we'll be looking now at the Dublin Racing Festival as possibly being extremely informative this year.
Yeah, hopefully. I just wouldn't be jumping up and down about, for example, Ireland's chances of winning the Presbytery Cup this year. I think we're slightly behind the 8 ball. If you look at the novice chase division, we literally have 2 decent novice chasers at the moment. Novice hurdle division looks quiet, so we have to up our game a bit, I think.
Yeah, and unusually we've got Willie Mullins kind of in and out of form a little bit. A lot of them haven't come out yet. Usually he'd be hitting the ground running at this time of year, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. I'm a huge Willie Mullins fan, and Gordon Elliott. And for the week of Christmas, I think Gordon had 5 winners from 90 runners. Willie had 26 horses at 5 to 2 or less. 4 of them won, 7 odds-ons. All got beat. I'd say I backed 5 of them anyway. And so just things aren't going that well for him. But maybe this could be the year that he wins a Gold Cup. You know, that's the way racing goes sometimes.
Yeah. I'd say if he had one and it was that, he'd be happy.
He would. He would.
Talking about all these Cheltenham races, Gavin, we better have a look back at our previous selections. I've managed to injure one and see him off. I've had one antepost tip here, next destination for the RSA. Unfortunately, he's injured and out for the season, so that's that dead in the water. You've got half a dozen in there. Tiger Roll in the cross country.
Yeah, he's going okay. He'll be fine.
Larichburg in the JLT.
Yeah, we picked a good price. I think it was 28s.
Yeah.
Red Zone gave us at the time, but it looks like now he's going to go with the Arkles. That's a pity.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he stays, does he, ultimately?
Well, he did win over 2.5 in tip, but yeah, just the faster gallop seems to maybe suit him, but yeah.
Malone Road, you gave him at 8 to 1 at enhanced odds.
Yeah, he looked to have a massive chance at the time, but obviously he's injured, so he's probably not going to make it.
Doesn't look like he's going to get there, unfortunately. Penn Hill, 8 to 1 for the stairs. We haven't seen him yet. That's probably a good thing these days.
Yeah, no, I hope he doesn't appear till March, but and based on what we saw on the long walk and even, you know, against Apples Jade at Christmas in Leopardstown, I'd be very happy with Penn Hill, yeah.
Good, yeah. Lawler for the Arkle, steady enough, 7 to 1 enhanced odds.
Yeah, you'd be worried after Sandown, but based on Dynamite Dollars beating Kalashnikov and the fact that Lawler's far better going left-handed on goodish ground, you still wouldn't give up hope on Lawler.
You'd be happy enough, and there's nothing that has really come out and seized the 2 mile novice chase in the
Not
division.
particularly, no.
And the other one then, the only other one, Road to Respect for the Gold Cup, ran well enough at Leopardstown without, you'd have liked to see him go and win that race, but at the same time, he's one of the ones you take out of the race, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of maybe only the winner in himself. He was unlucky, he got blocked, and then he slipped up at the bend, the second last bend, so he definitely would have finished second, but I don't think he would have bet the winner on the day.
Yeah, okay, so you'd be happy enough with that one at the moment.
He'd have an each way chance.
Relatively speaking,
yeah.
There's some of them there, they're not all dead in the water.
Not all dead, but yeah.
We might move on to a general chat on the Gold Cup for now. Presenting Percy, we still haven't seen. Again, that almost seems to be a positive at the moment. It's getting a little bit of a concern in the sense that I know Native River went there on the back of 1 run last year, but he had 10 or 11 runs under his belt over that, at that stage over fences. He'd won a Hennessy, a Ladbrokes as it now is. He'd won a Welsh National. He was an experienced horse. He'd run the Gold Cup before that, was placed behind Size and John. You look at something like Presenting Percy going there, he's had I think 5 runs over fences. It's probably not ideal, and if something goes wrong in the meantime, you know, in one of those runs, all of a sudden you're up against it a bit, aren't you? Yeah,
it depends on the horse really. Like, look at the job Henrietta Knight did with Best Mate every year. She's done a fantastic job with him, and it worked for that particular horse. But the thing, the Presenting Percy hasn't ran because the ground is good, and there's no reason why it's going to go soft the next month the way the weather is going. So
very dry the whole time.
Yeah, so they'll have to get, is he going to go to the Gold Cup with 2 runs now? That's unlikely. So he's only going to have 1 more run, really.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Philip Reynolds at Leopardstown over Christmas, and he basically said it'll be the Galmoy and the Red Mills Chase, which he ran in last year, or the Irish Gold Cup on its own. So,
well, sure, judging by Pat Kelly, he probably could run him over hurdles and fences in Goran,
Yeah, that could well happen.
Depending on the ground,
he did that last year, of course, and the fact that he's running a Red Mills Chase and he ran in I think it was the Porterstown as well, he's got experience against older horses, but at the same time, not an ideal prep for a Gold Cup favourite.
It's not. Now, if ever ground is going to be softest in the Galmoy hurdle day, the Thyestes Day. That's always heavy, but this year it might just be soft.
Yeah. What about the rest of them? Native River, in fairness, consistent.
He jumped out to his left.
Yeah.
Kempton would definitely not be his cup of tea. He's better going the other way around. He loves making a run at Cheltenham, but the ground came up soft. I didn't fancy him at all last year because usually the ground is good on the Friday. Last year the ground was very, very soft. He does the one thing very well. He just gets out in front. He jumps great. He stays forever. He's won a Welsh national, so
you know you're going to probably get a run for your money, all being well, and a good chance if the ground were to come up soft.
To me, it's a very, very open race. I recommended Road to Respect just because I think if the ground was good, he has a decent chance. But there's 6, 7, 8 horses you could pick that have a chance. Even Thistlecrack jumped better this time in Kempton than he had done previously.
Yeah. It would be surprising if a horse like that at this stage was good enough to win a Gold
Yeah, he's
Cup.
turning 11. Yeah. Well, he's 11 now, so that's too old. Whereas you've got new kids on the block like Clandas Obo and Kenboy who won their 2 races at Christmas, and they've been very impressive, showed a good turn of foot after travelling well each race. So
Clandas Obo was, I think, 4 from 12. I mean, fairly exposed in Grade 1s. What did you think of the Kempton race, the King George?
It was all about travelling and jumping, as it always is in Kempton. But Clandas Obo, you'd have to give him a bit of an excuse that, you know, he's only 7. He did run a race like the Triumph a few years ago, so he is open to more improvement than some of them. But I'd have a slight question mark whether he'll stay at 3 mile 2.5 in Cheltenham, because he had done most of his running over 2.5. And now he did stay maybe in Haydock previously, but I just have a little worry whether he'd stay the Gold Cup trip.
Still, he was well beaten that day ultimately. I mean, that's, you know, the overall profile, you'd look at him and you think he probably shouldn't be good enough to win a Gold Cup, but I suppose they can improve, can't they?
You can. It's going to be a great race.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give up on Kenboy either. He was very impressive. The turn of foot in the last furlong was fantastic at Leopardstown.
Messy sort of race, maybe.
It was, yeah. It was slowly run.
Yeah.
David Mullins, as Willie said afterwards, risked the wrath of Willie afterwards, but he jumped well for him, and as I said, the turn of foot he showed was excellent.
Good sign of a rider to use their initiative like that in those, especially when there's so much at stake.
He was ballsy, yeah.
So fairly open. Happy enough with your advice on Road to Respect at this stage, or what would you?
Yeah, he'd have a great each way chance because Native River is in it. They're going to go not like Leopardstown. They're going to go flat out from the start. He travelled really well into the race last year to the third last, the bottom of the hill, and just the soft ground beat him. If the ground was really quick ground, he'd have an each way chance. Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to go over to our sponsors, RedZone.bet now, and ask Kay and Calvin, since Christmas, what has been the biggest mover on their books?
The Gold Cup betting has changed considerably following the big races at Kempton and Leopardstown. Kenboy is now our third favourite at 7-1, after his impressive win, closely followed by the first film King George, Clandas Obo and Thistlecrack, and we're 10-1 the pair there. And then conversely, Mike Bite is now up to 16-1 after his 2 poor performances in November and on Boxing Day. Elsewhere, French Raider Master Dino has jumped straight to the front of the betting in the JLT Chase market. We're 9-2 him following an impressive debut at Plumpton. And then Santini is also shortened for the RSA after the eye-catching way he stayed on at Kempton, and we're 3-1 him.
Okay, well that's interesting. We're going to move on to the Champion Hurdle market. We had an interesting prep run, if you want to call it that, over the weekend in Lorena at Sandown. 2.5 miles, soft ground. Didn't do anything out of the way, but you know, she jumped and galloped. Personally, I don't look at her same as I never looked at Samcro and thought, whoa, that's a Champion Hurdle horse. I don't know what you thought of it, Gavin.
Sure, it was grand. You just wonder, like, she's never been thrown into the deep end. She won the Mayor's Novice impressive last year. She won at Fairy House. She won at Tremor, Fairy House twice. She won well the other day. She jumps fine. It's a stab in the dark. I just can't believe she's 7-2 to win a Champion Hurdle after beating Mares. She's never ran against the geldings. That's not her fault. She's only ever beaten what was in front of her very easily. I think her jumping is good, but I don't know if it's slick enough for a Champion Hurdle. After half a mile in the Champion, she's just going to be wondering what's going on because the speed they're going to go. Do you know? I wouldn't back her at 7-2 anyway. Definitely not.
Hoover there, to be honest, I've always been a big fan of his. I've been in the why is he being underestimated corner. You'd have to be a little bit disappointed the last. You know, having said that, that mare is a good mare that beat him.
For Dana Blue,
yeah, they took her out last year on the morning of the race, but he fell through. He skipped through the third last.
He did
down the back and never looked like winning ultimately. I still think he's probably going to be the one to beat come Cheltenham on good ground, strongly run race. He'll get a lead. You'd imagine, from my point of view, he's going to be the one to beat anyway. What do you think?
He probably is. I could see him maybe even drifting a little bit because as soon as a horse gets beat in racing, people just kind of abandon that horse and they go against it. Whereas people love horses that remain unbeaten. It's the first time I think he was beat since Altior kicked him out of the way in the Supreme
Novice.
But yeah, bad mistake, 3 out. Probably went for his race a bit too soon and was nabbed on the line by a horse that loves a sharp track, good ground.
Yeah.
You'd probably say
Might
Boover
run
there,
next on-
really, but
Might run next on the all-weather.
really.
The winner, which is mad, you know, she beats the champion hurdle favourite, and they're talking about the all-weather finals for her, which is interesting. But that's just her. She obviously needs very good ground.
The odd one has to be Apple's Jade, because what happens if she runs at the start of February, wins the Irish champion hurdle in Leopardstown? Let's say she beats Sharjah and Mellon by 3 lengths. Are they going to be tempted to run her in the champion hurdle?
And it's the one race.
Because they were running Samco in it all year to win the champion hurdle.
he's gone.
And they have a better horse here, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Petit Mouchoir might come into the equation for them if he improves for his run the last day. But the one race Gordon has been saying all along she's not a contender for is the champion. It's the mayor's race or the stairs supposedly. But as you say,
if she
dots up at Leopardstown, all of a sudden they're going to have a decision to make.
Yeah, they will. She's a fantastic horse. She was very, very impressive again. She seems even better this year.
Yeah, herself and Altior were the two that kind of lived up to their brief, weren't they?
Yeah.
We've also got Mellon and Sharjah in there. Mellon ran okay probably for his reappearance. Sharjah we keep kind of talking down, but he keeps doing it in fairness. And you could see a champion hurdle, you know, being run to suit him. They'll hold him up. He'll be ridden for a place ultimately, and you'd imagine he won't be too far away.
Yeah, you'd have to
don't
say.
seem convinced.
I wouldn't really. I don't think it's the best champion hurdle lineup we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if Sharjah was good enough to win a champion. Mellon was very ordinary at Christmas. Obviously, he's going to improve a lot. But it wasn't screaming champion hurdle winner to you, was it?
No. At the moment, at the prices,
no bet.
No bet. Yeah.
Maybe Boover there, just because he's been there. He's won 2 champions, and Lorena still has a lot to prove, especially if that's her only run of the season before the champion.
Yeah. We might go over to Kane Calvin and just get his view on this, because Red Zone have gone 7-2. They've shortened her up a little bit. Kane, is that because of the visual performance that you saw the other day? Is it because you've seen money for her? Or is it because there's a suggestion that Ruby will ride her in the race?
So 7-2 is about the middle of the market, and that's where we're happy to be. We've seen a little bit of interest in her, but not too much. And the race on Saturday didn't teach us much, apart from she's fitting well, really. We still don't know Ruby's and Mullins' stable plans for the champion hurdle, so we're looking to avoid any controversial opinions until we know more.
Okay, well that's interesting again. We're going to have a quick roundup of the weekend's activity, and maybe a bit further beyond as well. We've seen a lot of horses over the last couple of weeks. We've seen Battle of Diane at Naas yesterday. Tornado Flyer bombed out completely. Gavin, I think you've got a short list there you want to start discussing. You better, we'll press go and let you off. Okay,
I have a long list of horses that if you want to catch up and you've been away somewhere for a few weeks, just if you catch up in these 20-odd races, you'll be fully up to date with Cheltenham.
Okay.
Angel's Breath won on the 21st of December for Nicky Henderson, is now favourite for the Supreme, won quite well at Ascot. Vindication is now 6 from 6 over fences and hurdles. That won very well the same day in Ascot too. Paisley Park won what used to be the Long Walk hurdle, is now the JLT. Wasn't screaming a stairs hurdle winner to me, but it won it quite well. We've mentioned Le Bagawa on Stephen's Day, beating top of the game, and Santini. Santini, you'd have to say, was disappointing. I know he doesn't like flat tracks, and you know he'd be better going the other way and a more test of stamina, but he was very flat-footed turning in, whereas...
We might stop you there and just put up the prices for the RSA, because that's an interesting market at the moment. Next Destination is gone, as we say. Santini was beaten, but ran well enough.
Yes.
I thought top of the game was disappointing, because he came there, you'd say it might be too quick for him. He came there 3 out, he led 2 out, you'd expect him to go and win the race from there,
I tell you, it'd be interesting, I think, if top of the game ended up in the JLT, perhaps. Now, he probably won't.
Forcefully over a shorter trip.
Yeah, because he came there and he looked all over a winner. I'd say he traded very short the second last. He went a length and a half up on Le Bagawa.
And her form, in fairness, it's very good. She's beaten Lost in Translation as well twice, I think. Maybe we're underestimating her a bit, but maybe not mad about Cheltenham.
She's not mad about Cheltenham, and it's debatable whether she'll show up there or not.
Yeah.
They might keep her for entry or whatever, but top of the game, travel like the best horse in Kempton. Yeah. I'd be interested in him if he went to the JLT, perhaps. Yeah.
And Delta Work, he's as solid as any of them, in fairness.
Didn't have much to beat now in Leopardstown. It was 2s on.
Did it professionally.
There was only 7 horses in the race. 5 of them were Gigginstown, which is a pity to see that being so dominant. But Delta Work, it won reasonably well. As I was saying to you earlier, there's literally only 2 decent novice chasers in Ireland at the moment.
The Riechberg and the
Riechberg and Delta Work. So, but Delta Work would certainly have a chance of winning Cheltenham last year.
Yeah, okay. Carry on.
We also had, we mentioned Boover there, Clandas Obo and the King George. That's worth a look. Le Riechberg was very impressive, beating us and them. Void Rev and Megley Khan, who was disappointing when favourite. Hardline beat Getaboard down in Limerick, which cost plenty of people plenty of money, I'd say. But Hardline might end up at Cheltenham.
What about Getaboard? What do you take on that?
Sure, you'd imagine he definitely would have won, I thought, if he jumped the last well, and then he kind of stumbled and lost one of his hind legs after the last I still thought he'd get back up, to be honest. So Hardline's probably a little bit better than we thought, perhaps.
Okay.
Stand Up and Fight was an interesting one. Won a Hunter's Chase in Down Royal. Is now favourite. Yeah, Derek O'Connor, I think, was very bullish afterwards. I think he's into favourite now for the Fox Hunters, so he's one to keep an eye on.
And the entry race especially might suit him over the intermediate trip 2-6. I think that'll be nailed on for him.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good one to note. At the 27th, we had Kel Destin beat Ajali, Triumph Hurdle horses, which we're not mad about, but he showed a fantastic attitude. He could be hard to pass in the Triumph. Elegant Escape won the Welsh National, but only off 151. He was beaten 14 lengths last year in the RSA, so it's hard to see him win a Gold Cup. Sir Eric and Tiger Tap Tap, there was only a neck between them. They were 8 lengths clear of the rest. Sir Eric is now 10-1 joint favourite roughly for the Triumph Hurdle, so he's worth a mention. Paloma Blue is one that Davy Jennings tipped up for the Arkle. He won his beginner's chase quite well. Footpad got beat by Simply Ned, which was...
Quite well, before you go on. I mean, it took a while to warm up, didn't he? You'd wonder about fast 2 miles at Cheltenham.
Yeah, you're not saying he's going to win an Arkle or anything, but just he'll certainly be there on the day, I'd say.
Carry on.
Footpad beaten by Simply Ned. That was hard to believe, halfway up the run in that Simply Ned, who's now 12.
Yeah.
But Simply Ned seems to like Leopardstown. It beat Min similarly last year.
Runs his best races there, I suppose. And the view was that maybe Footpad blew up ultimately. He'd had a little setback after his first run. But at the same time, you'd like to think a half-fit Footpad might have beaten him, but there you go. I mean, it
was a great race to watch, but obviously anybody back Footpad, it wasn't. But if you're Altior's connections, you're not going to be losing any sleep, are you?
No, indeed.
No. Aramon was very impressive in probably a weakish grade 1. It beat Sancta Simona 10 lengths. Where that performance came out of, I don't know. It was well beaten in the Royal Bond, had one in Navan, but Ruby held it up for a late run. And if you look at the replay, the gears it showed was quite impressive.
The Supreme is wide open. The horse on Saturday, in fairness, Elixir the nuts of Philip Hobbs, likeable sort, but I mean, how do you rank them all? It's
I don't know. The Supreme at the minute is just, it could be 8 or 10 to 1 the field. Yeah. We mentioned Dynamite Dollars beating Kalashnikov. We mentioned Altior's wicked impressive again. I'm going to set a petition up to try and get that horse rated 180. I just can't believe the rate.
Comes down to what they beat, though. I mean, he's unfortunate. He probably just hasn't got the quality of horse to run against.
For example, he keeps beating, say, 168 horses by £7 or whatever, so he's 175, but sure, he's definitely a 180 horse. He's not even top-rated horse in training at the moment.
To the BHA handicap.
I'm going to write to everybody, but he has to be 180. Apples Jade, we mentioned, that's worth a look. Kenboy was very impressive. Esper Dallin beat Stormy Iron by 8 lengths. Mightn't go to the Champion Hurdle this year, but it could be a horse just that could end up being placed in the Champion Hurdle next year or the year after, maybe. The 29th, we had Delta Work, we mentioned, beating Mortal. It was a poor race, but won well. Sharjah, we mentioned. Champ was another one on the 29th. It won the Challow Hurdle by 2.5 lengths from Getaway Trump. Getaway Trump was rated 138 going into that. Champ is now rated 150. It's 5-6 to 1 favourite for the Ballymore. But again, I think it's a case of that there's just nothing jumping off the page. That's why it's favourite. January 1st loss in translation beat Defi de Sul. Defi de Sul went past it. Looked, it was definitely going to win, and then lost.
And he pinged the last 2 fences, and you know, you couldn't see him being beat from there. But
I think that the connections, Colin Tizard, really, they highly rate loss in translation. So he'll end up in the JLT or the RSA, I'd imagine.
Will they drop Defi de Sul back? They've suggested maybe not.
I hope they do.
It looks
then
like he needs to, doesn't it?
They might run Richburg in the JLT, but no, I don't. I'd say Defi de Sul might end up in the JLT. Okay,
you're going to have to write to JP as well. So.
I will, yeah, a lot of letters. Alboom Photo was impressive down in Tremor, beat Total Recall by 6 lengths. He would have been second or third in last year's RSA, so he's another one of the Gold Cup, 25 to 1, 20 to 1, whatever price he is, that he might have a small each way shout. Battle over Diane, that was yesterday, beat Sam's Profile. It was a good performance, but like it's into 6 to 1 for the Ballymore. I wouldn't back that horse at 6 to 1.
Yeah, he's a nice sort. I have to say, the race wasn't run to suit him. They went steady earlier on, and when they picked it up down the back, he looked like he was in trouble for a little bit, but he found plenty, and then kind of won going away in the end.
He's a gorgeous horse.
Like the way he went about it, but again, whether it's Ballymore winning form at this stage it's very hard to call.
You know, beating Sam's Profile and Get a Reason is good form. He's won his grade 1. 7 weeks ago he was winning a bumper, so he's come a long way in a short period of time. But
you see Tornado Flyer, beg your pardon,
and Come to Me.
Didn't run his race at all. I mean, and drifted like a barge and ran accordingly. I mean, you would have liked to see him run his race, and you'd have a better line then on the winner, Battle of Diane.
Yeah, he was gone after jumping 2 hurdles to Tornado Flyer. Master Dino beat Knocknanoose yesterday in Plumpton. It was getting £5.
Yeah.
It's only just turned 5, right? Yeah. And believe it or not, it's had 19 runs in its career so far.
Yeah.
17 over hurdles. It's twice a Grade 1 winner in France over hurdles.
You'd have to love the way he jumped. I mean, he's like so many French horses, just lifts up his legs and gets out.
He's just very tidy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the races that gives you an idea of the Christmas.
Yeah, it's a good summary. We're going to move on to our tips for this week. The highlight of the show, of course, contrary to what you might think from the earlier list we went through. Gavin, we're going to start with you.
Yes.
You're going for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, a race that probably shouldn't exist, but anyway, it's there. It's a profitable punting race, you reckon?
Yeah, you were slagging me earlier about picking a horse in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, but to my knowledge, I think there's been 3 so far, all won by Willie, and they all went off favourite.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
been a good race.
That's a good thing from a punter's point of view. Not necessarily a good thing in overall terms.
No, but I think Honeysuckle is has got a very good chance. She's underrated. She won a point-to-point on soft ground by 15 lengths. She then came out and won a 2.5 mile maiden hurdle from Muscovite by 12 lengths. It was getting £9 that day, but she's come out and won twice since. The form is fine.
Yeah.
And then in a 2 mile novice mare's hurdle down in Thurles, she won by just over 3 lengths from Sassy Diva. Those two were one was in good firm, the other was in good ground. She's won her point-to-point on soft. So ground is not an issue.
Yeah.
Trip is not an issue. She's won already a 2 mile, 2.5, 3. One thing to note about the Mayor's Novice Hurdle is that it's run the Thursday evening. It's 2 miles won. There's only 2 hurdles in the last 7.5 furlongs. It turns into a really, really staying race. Yeah. And the fact that she's won over further, I think, is positive. Henry de Bromhead says she definitely goes for the race. She's going to run at the end of January in Fairyhouse. You know the Grade 3 Mayor's Novice Hurdle that Lorena won last year? She's going to go for that. I'd be very afraid of what Willie's going to have in the race, but at the moment, there's nothing jumping off the page.
Epitante, I had a look at earlier on when you said
she was impressive.
Really impressive. Travelled and jumped and quickened away. But as you say, like Robin DiCarlo was priced up there as well. She bombed out last time. She's not priced up there, but she's one of Willie's.
Yes. Relegate won last year's bumper, but again, she hasn't done it yet over hurdles. So
started off over 2.6, which is a bit of a worry when you see that. But she won over 2 miles next time. In fairness,
I just think Honeysuckle. I'd like to have her on side because she's going to go there, and I'll have something each way on her, and we'll see what happens with Willie in the next month.
Okay. My one is going to be Waiting Patiently in the Gold Cup. I just think always with the Gold Cup you need a horse with pace, with an emerging, upwardly mobile profile, if you like, and that's what this horse has. I think unbeaten over fences, started off novice chasing over 2 miles, and has stepped up and has beaten a lot of good horses, beaten Q Card, beaten Top Notch, beaten Frodon, and look, he was unlucky at Kempton in the King George. He was travelling like a dream, he was jumping like a dream, and he got brought down by Bristol de May, which was unfortunate. One of those things. Again, now you're up against it in terms of what do you do. I think they were hoping that would prove, whether he stayed 3 miles or not. And they're talking about the pillar chase, the old pillar chase, if we can call it that. They're, I think, possibly concerned that if it's heavy ground, he might have a hard race. I'd love to see him running it. You'll find out. And if he doesn't stay, Brian Hughes can look after him. I just think he's a very good horse. And the other thing to remember is Gold Cup winners always have experience at Cheltenham, so that's a slight concern. You've got to go back to 1996 to Imperial Call, to the last Gold Cup winner that hadn't had a previous run at Cheltenham, which is a long time. Cato Star fell in a champion chase, granted he didn't get far. Coney had run over hurdles, he hadn't run over fences. So that's another reason why you'd like to see him go for the pillar, and you'd find out. I just think in an open race, he's got an awful lot of quality. I think Red Zone Bet are going to give us 28 to 1, up from 22 to 1. At those odds, he's a lot of appeal to me. I've backed him already, to be honest. So with the enhanced odds, I might have to reinvest.
He certainly has a lot of potential. Just the question is, will he stay or not? So
will he stay? Yeah, he's by Flemensfort, who's already produced a Gold Cup winner as well in Imperial Commander. There's nothing on his pedigree that says to me he won't stay. So I hope they do roll the dice. You've only got a chance with a Gold Cup horse once in your lifetime, maybe. So I hope they do roll the dice. So it's waiting patiently for me.
It was a strange one that it was down as an unseat.
Yeah.
In the King George, there wasn't a brought down.
Wasn't an awful lot he could have done about it.
Nothing.
Yeah. It's a pity, because that's the thing when you wait with these horses. Like Willie is being forced to do, and like Pat Kelly is being forced to do with Presenting Percy, and then something goes wrong, plans are up in the air all of a sudden, and you're on the back foot a little bit. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks.
Yep.
So there we go. Thanks to RedZone.bet as ever, and thanks to you for joining us. Christmas is out of the way, we're into 2019, and the countdown can begin to the real festivities now. See you next week.
RedZone Sports.bet. Wham, bam, thank you, Uncle Sam.